Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Think Future. My name's Chris Kalabukas, and once again, we're coming at you live from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. We're talking innovation startups, the future, not necessarily those, and not necessarily in that order. If you're watching on YouTube, smack that subscribe button and hit that bell so you can be notified when a new show comes online. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast service, please subscribe. Please drop a note on Apple Podcasts. I'd greatly appreciate it. Now, I am a huge fan of Robert Greene. And if you don't know who Robert Greene is, you probably know at least one of his works. So the first book that he put out was called The 48 Laws of Power. And that thing was a huge hit when it first came out. And since then, he's put out book after book after book after book exploring human nature. Now, anybody who's in the product space, anybody who's in the startup space, anybody who's in the innovation space, in fact, anybody who's in any space needs to understand human nature. Because if you don't understand human nature, you're not going to understand what your customers are like. I mean, I think too many times we don't factor human nature in what we build because we think, oh, maybe someone will step up out of this. It's kind of like thinking about what humans are going to be like and being so sure that humans are going to be good people and they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and then all of a sudden you put it out there and people become trolls, right? You can be an optimist or a pessimist, but you never know what people are going to do. Human nature is crazy, and there's plenty of things out there about human nature that people don't take heed of. So that's what I love about his books, is that he goes deep into human nature. And the first book was on power. Then he has a book on war. He did a collaboration with Tencent. He wrote this massive tome called The Laws of Human Nature, which I highly recommend. It's a super thick book, but you know what? It is amazing. Everything this guy does is pretty amazing. And one of the things that I found interesting is that in a recent book that I'm reading of his, I think it's called The Daily Laws. It's almost like a calendar where there's like a day, January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd, January 1st. It's a great gift for this time of the year, by the way. And I'll put a link in the show notes down below YouTube in case you guys want to buy it. But what he did in the book was he collated all of his other previous books on human nature and sort of served it up in almost a calendar style where each thing's a day. So basically the way it works is you buy this thing or you give it as a gift and you just flip to the day that it is. So for example, whatever day this is January, 5th, 6th. You flip it open to the January 5th or 6th and you read what happened on the day. And it's a piece of knowledge that came out of one of his previous books. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting is that he wrote a book called Mastery. And in this book, he talks about how you should use a full decade of your life, your 20s, to figure out what you want to do with your life. And he gives us all sorts of examples of people who were expected to go down this path or that path because these paths were well-worn. Very, very well-worn paths. And the social pressure to have people go down well-worn paths is actually pretty strong if you think about it. I mean, if you think about it, one of the reasons why most of us can't keep to our resolutions or can't keep to our goals or can't keep to what we really want to do in life is that the social pressure around us is so strict at keeping us in our groove that it's almost impossible for us to get out. We're trying to skip out of the groove, right? Let's say you're trying to lose weight. You're trying to skip out of the groove of losing weight, but everybody around you sees you as what you are, and you're a good eater, and and they expect you to do this and that. When you try to change, everyone is surprised. Everyone's shocked. People can't stand change. They think, what's happening with this person? Are they no longer who they were? Well, yeah, they're trying to change. They're trying to be a different person. So the social pressure of not changing is super high. It's incredibly high for the social pressure to stop people from changing. So he describes a story, or a number of stories, of people who were pushed into a groove. They were pushed into a specific groove. And then they realized that the groove wasn't it for them. So they jumped to another groove. And then they jumped to another groove. And they jumped to another groove. And then as they started getting near 30, 35, whatever, their parents and everybody around them going, what's going on with you? Why are you jumping from groove to groove? Why don't you pick a groove and stick to it? Pick a groove and stick to it. This is the advice of almost everybody. But you know what happened? Do you know what these people did? Instead of picking a groove and sticking to it, they created a whole new groove. They said, I'm going to take a little bit of this groove, and I'm going to take a little bit of this groove, and I'm going to mash them up, and I'm going to create my whole new groove. I'm going to create a completely brand new thing out of this experience that I have. Because I tasted all these different experiences, and now I can see my life's purpose in this one thing, which is a combination of the things that I've done before, that it's unique to me. I'm blazing a new path simply because that is my path. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an orthopedic surgeon or whatever. I'm a blend. I can create a new groove and go down that new groove. Now the thing is that our society doesn't really encourage people going down new grooves because people don't like change, and I've talked about this before many times. But the other part of it is that when you create a new groove, people are like, what is that? What is that? That's unfamiliar. I don't understand what that is. I don't have the context to understand that. So I don't like it. I don't like it because, I have no context to understand it. I can't figure this thing out. Is it an apple? Is it a pear? Is it an orange? I don't know. Is it some weird-ass combination? I don't like that. People like clarity. They like simplicity. They like things to be the way they are. They like things to be understandable. So when you try to invent something new, something different, they immediately turn away from it because they think, oh my God, what is that? I don't get that. I don't want any part of that. It's something new and different. And the problem is that this new and different thing, that's innovation. That's disruption. That could be a cure for cancer. It could be a brand new science that nobody's figured out yet. It could be a whole new area of thinking that this person has started a groove, and he could be creating a whole new science around that. And who knows how many human beings could be helped by this whole new science, which was a mashup of these things. That person had the strength to decide to not stick in a specific groove, but to mash up the grooves and create a new path. So the question is, can you do the same thing? And the other thing that I thought was interesting, was that he said, take your time. Now, one of the things that Jordan Peterson said was, if you don't know what you want to do in your life, pick a direction and go. Something that Picard also did. Apparently, there was an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where Crusher and Picard could read each other's minds, and he just thought, I'm going to pick a direction and go. She goes, do you do that all the time? Just think of a direction and go? He goes, yep, because it's better to just keep moving. Just go in a direction than to just sit here and do nothing. So the idea is, pick a direction, go in that direction, go in your own direction, mash up directions. Don't sit in the same groove society wants you to be in. And the other thing is that take your time to figure it out. Don't rush into some life's task that's been picked for you by somebody else or your social surroundings that you're unhappy with. There's probably a perfect combination of things and skills that you have in your background that will allow you to create your own groove. And this is not just for people, it's for products as well, it's for organizations as well. Create your own groove and take your time with it. Every time you build something new, it takes time. You can't just rush into it. So build something new, build something disruptive, build something creative, create something totally new, and benefit the human race. That's it for me for today. See you next time, and until then, don't forget to think future.